Welcome everybody, welcome. People are still filing in, so we'll just take a moment to make sure everybody can hear me. There is a Q&A button in Teams at the top. If you can hit that and ask me a question, just let me know, yes, I can see and hear you. That will be great because it'll stop me from worrying throughout the rest of this that I am deaf, dumb, and blind. Still more people coming in. Welcome. If you can hear me, there's another one. If you can hear me, please post a question in the Q&A just to let me know that you can hear me. That'd be great. Great, thank you. I have got confirmation that I'm audible and visible. So I will attempt to crack on, and let's start in maybe a few more seconds time so that I am not distracted constantly by people joining in late. Hello, welcome. Now, hopefully you can all see the Vertech and the DMARC sign on the screen there. And yeah, let's get into this. Okay, so hey, thank you everybody for showing up for this. I intend to do more client updates in this manner in the future. I've got the feedback already, perhaps not on the last day of the month. Yep, okay, but I was running out of time and things just need to get done and get off the to-do list. I'm sure you will understand. Okay, so today, just going to take you through a few things, right? So if you're quick, you can snap a photo of that or grab that QR and do a little test whilst you're waiting for me to carry on talking. Don't worry, there's going to come back again. This webinar kind of flows off the back of the work that I did with Nigel Latta on the TVNZ documentary in episodes 2 and 3 about investment scams and invoice scams, because essentially both of those kind of attacks which people are experiencing now or supply chain attacks do come about because of the inherent insecurity of the mail protocol. Ooh, still people jumping in. So there we go. I'll carry on. So why do we care? Why are we here, right? Okay, the one, it is a real problem. Two, it does affect my clients, right? I'm seeing it out in the workplace. This is happening. I've attended security incidents from where I've been called in by an insurance company, and people are sending out huge gobs of money from what at the root cause is quite simple flaws, right? I've got to take a pause. There's more people coming in. That's great. But on the good news side of things, it's actually not that hard. There's some difficult bits to it, but it's not hugely difficult. One, you've got to know actually what your security is like around your email, and then you've got to add in the DMARC records for your domain and start the implementation. Right? It isn't just a turnkey fix. It does take a little bit of work, but it's not a get a forklift and pull out the system, put it all back in again type of thing. We'll explain further. So now you might want to find out if your domain actually already is capable of being impersonated. All right. Many businesses may already have SPF records, but it's surprising how many of those, sorry, I used an acronym, SPF, sender protection format, sender protection framework. Okay. But most businesses do not have DMARC records in place, right? And it's a protocol which has been created in order to be able to take care of it. I recommend that you get your phones out, point it at the screen now, fill out your work email address, and put out your own Gmail address in the secondary alternate address field. And before the end of this, you should have an email in your inbox which tells you how easy it is for an attacker to impersonate your domain. So now, email. Fundamentally, it's got a security flaw, right? And because basically, email has the email protocol has been around since the 70s, when essentially it was a simple messaging program to allow multiple people on the same VAX screen terminal type situation to be able to message each other. And then they thought, well, let's start linking these together. So we're talking about going way back, right? It was a big thing just to be able to connect two computers together back then, let alone actually thinking about, well, how is anybody going to start attacking this, right? Now, 40 years later or more, we're still using the base protocols underlying the email protocol, which because everything has to be retrocompatible, right? I mean, you can send email to somebody using a really basic system that was, on Windows 95. They'll get their email, right? Now, these days, you probably don't come across that too often, but unfortunately, there's quite a lot of businesses out there that are essentially haven't done much to themselves since then. So the good news is that we've actually got a way to get around this and get it sorted, all right? It is really easy for attackers to send email from your domain, or appear to send it from your domain, without actually hacking your systems. They're not hacking your systems. They can make it appear as if it's coming from your domain, and they're borrowing the trust that your staff and your clients and suppliers have for your business. All right. There's another problem as businesses start cranking up the inbound email security, that your invoices and marketing emails that you're trying to get out to clients can often end up spam if they're not properly signed off as actually coming from your domain, all right, or a valid sending mail server for your domain. Part of the other problem is that generally most email is sent unencrypted, which means if somebody is out there sniffing email and you're of the kind of business that, hey, you have got compliance requirements with regards to protecting data in transit, right? That should be encrypted. That can be an issue as well. All right. And the last thing is, most people have no visibility as to who is actually sending as their domain, right? Because I can demonstrate it quite easily that it is possible to send an email using a command prompt, connect into somebody else's system and make it appear from anybody else. It's too easy. So the problem is, the damage that we see out there, the kind of risk that you've got out there is business email compromise, the deposit fraud, where they are getting involved in the communications between your accounts people or your suppliers and your accounts people, and then convincing them to alter the bank details. People are lured into trusting an email and then clicking a link, and then that's the landing point for ransomware and malware into your organization, right? Or they're tricked into providing information about themselves, which is then used to attack a third party, i.e. your mobile phone provider, right? Because if I want to try and get your two-factor authentication passcodes that come in, if I've got enough information, it's possible, it's horribly possible, to convince your mobile phone provider that, I've lost my phone, and could you just transfer the account onto the SIM chip, all right? And then they start getting the text. Now, of course, all of that, if your domain is seen to be spewing out crowd onto the internet and into other people's mailboxes, that has an effect on your brand reputation. So how does this happen? All right. It essentially, it's distributed nature of the internet and cloud services. It just makes it easy for people to spoof, right? We're all using things like Microsoft and Google, and there's various other services out there like Xero and SAP, Salesforce. Everybody's got a system that they're using out there, and if they're using software as a service, it's not that. It's not like the old days where you had everything inside your walled garden of a firewall and you only allowed the certain things to come in, and you could provide that security. Everybody's out there with all the login portals out there on the internet, right? So it takes a bit of extra work to secure those environments. All right. They don't actually have to break into your firewall in order to get to most of your tools, because most of your tools are out there on the internet. All right. Typically, most MSPs like ourselves are generally looking at protecting what's inside your gateway, what's inside your wall. Your Microsoft 365 account. It's less about trying to protect people, who are your suppliers, right? Your third parties, right? So I believe that we all should try to be good netizens, right? Citizens of the internet, and make sure that we're doing our bit to make sure that we're not making it easy for bad guys to borrow the trust that others have in our brand and our systems to attack others. Don't miss me, no. Right. I mean, just recently, June 23, this is something I popped up. A bank customer lost 60K, falling for a phishing scam that mimicked the IRD. All right. Now he got his money back. Not everybody does. All right. There was an outfit that sent 600,000 to a supplier. That was a 25-user company. 600K, their accountant sent out. The attacker had been phishing them since October last year, and the hammer dropped in June. Okay. It was, they were not well protected. They weren't one of our clients, and we made a whole bunch of recommendations on where they could go and what they needed to do. But the initial phishing attack meant that they were eventually able to compromise the mailbox of the accounts person and convince her. And they basically, every time she had a conversation with her supplier, they were getting in there, intercepting that email, changing the content and deleting the original email. Also, when she was sending information back out to the supplier, they were on that side of the conversation as well, and changing that and deleting it, so that they were the ones who were controlling the conversation. It was devious, and they were extremely lucky they managed to get that money back, because it had gone overseas already, but the next bank had held it up. It had gone into a Friday, Saturday period, and they just hadn't been able to get it out of that Malaysian bank. Otherwise, they would have been completely poked, because when that stuff happens, typically speaking, you've got 24 hours before that's gone. That business was also quite fortunate in that they did have a cyber risk policy, right? And I recommend, I don't directly sell it, but I mean, everybody should have a cyber risk policy, because it protects you and it provides additional support and response beyond everything else that we as an MSP do for you. All right. Okay, so how does this kind of attack work? Well, however they can get access to your the original mailbox, right? Now, then they can forward all that comms out. Now, typically, often they just get an access through the web portal, set up a forwarder to a Gmail account, and they might just be watching with a scripted search term, looking for the words invoice or statement or the kind of typical things, right? And then they start looking at it, right? They're waiting for that opportunity, and that's when they start the attack, which will look really believable, because I've even seen ones where they've gone so far as to buy another domain name from that looks very much like the supplier, and this is kind of what I did in that TVNZ documentary, and just alter it slightly and subtly and then attach it to another Office 365 account so that it actually looks very much like what you'd expect to see from the supplier, including all the signatures and the email chain altogether. So how can that be avoided? One, we've done a big push on this in the past, and we'll continue to do this. In fact, we're later on this year, we're also going to be doing another push for enhancing the multi-factor authentication to do some additional conditional formatting, but that's not what we're here to talk about. You can set up monitoring for external forwards, or my preference is disable it entirely, right? Do it at the client end, not at the server end, right? And the last thing is enable DMARC for your domain name, okay? And that just prevents that part of it, right? Sending fraudulent domains from your business gets knocked off. Right, is this actually a big problem? Hell yeah, it's getting real big. Okay, so this is New Zealand. The CERT is the Computer Emergency Response Team New Zealand. If you ever do have an issue, I always recommend people report it to these guys. They may not necessarily be able to help you immediately. That's why you get the cyber risk insurance, because they will bring in forensic IT people who will assist us with making sure we gather evidence, correct? Because it may not necessarily be external, it might be internal. And if you have to do a prosecution, you really want to make sure you got the forensics well done. Okay, so the number of incidents are going up, and the total direct financial loss is going up as well. All right, ransomware is still in there, but it's actually reduced because, frankly, the attackers go where it's easiest. Right now, it is super much easier to convince people to give up their credentials and then log into their systems. And then once you just log in, you don't even have to hack in, right? So that's the way they go. One of the other problems that I see out there is that generally when people have done something that they feel is stupid, right? Like click on a link, or may have logged into a web page and then gone, oh, yeah, I shouldn't have done that. That's odd. Well, they go, well, nothing happened, so they just carry on. All right, that's a problem. Every business out there needs to be talking with their staff, and in a no grumpiness way, let them know that there is, or it is a an all hands, all staff member responsibility for cybersecurity, i.e., you've all got your part to play. Their part may be every time something like that happens, and they think of it, they must report it. If it's a near miss, they must report it through your own internal chain, and also probably through the IT company. But you guys need to be aware of the kind of stuff that's going on. And the reason why I say that is within our own business, one of our team, he got suckered in. We got what's the word? I got impersonated, right? And I do a lot of marketing type activity. So that my staff member actually just assumed that, hey, I really did want to go out and get a whole bunch of iTunes cards and send it to some clients as prizes, because I've done stuff like that in the past. Like, it seems silly. In your business, maybe nobody even does that, but in my business, it was actually not completely infeasible. And he got this on his phone, right? Phones are a problem because small screen space, it's a bit harder to look at the source email address, right? If it says it comes from Daniel Watts or Daniel at Vertech, you're probably just going to assume it. Now he went out and got the cards, came back, and he sat down on his laptop, and then he reread the original email because he was going to send the details through. And he went, "Oh no, oh shoot!" And he called me up, and he was so ashamed, right? He was so ashamed that he said, "Please don't tell anybody." And at that time, that was a couple of years ago. At that time, I went, "Yeah, right, mate. Cool, fair enough. We'll just do it." Unfortunately, very next day, one of the other team members got that email, went and did it, sent the details away. And then afterwards she went, oh shit. And that's where my bad as a lead within my business is I hadn't made it I hadn't had a policy in place where I said, people, whatever happens, I'm not going to give you grumpiness. I'm not going to get growl you out. You just come to me and say, or report it up the chain. Let everybody know in the business that you've just got this dodgy looking email. All right, because we don't want anybody else to get suckered in. All right, and that's just how it is, right? I don't want that for any of my clients too. So here's a solution, right, for safeguarding your clients, your staff, and your suppliers. DMARC, it's a global security standard for all email, and it's supported by a massive number of companies now. It forces a whitelist of all the machines out there on the internet that are allowed to send emails from your domain name. All right, and make sure that the sending servers carry a cryptographic signature to ensure that the email can't be tampered, because if it's tampered with, the signature is not going to match anymore for the sending hash, right? And that's under that DKIM, domain keys identification management. And also make sure that your actual legitimate email is delivered successfully more often, because receiving servers go, yep, trusted mail server, I get it. That's not just spam. That's actually legit, right? And from you as a domain owner and us acting on your behalf, we can see if somebody is trying to spoof your domain, or we can see when you've got a new marketing company, or you switched, outsourced your accounts team to a third party, and they're sending invoices on your behalf. We'll see when those things actually stopped. They're bouncing kind of stuff, right? Because it provides a platform for us to be able to get that visibility and audit what's happening. So this is what we're doing. This SendMarc, okay? SendMarc is providing the platform for us that we can make this feasible, because frankly, I'll show you why it's difficult to do this manually. It will make sure that the criminals are not going to be successful in faking emails to impersonate your organization, right? It's providing the software platform, we're providing the professional services, and we've got the training to actually do it properly, all right? So you want to make sure that you're kept off the blacklists, that you actually have got the email coming from the right places, and it is properly signed and sealed to make sure it's delivered, all right? So in order to make this happen, we actually have to make some changes on your DNS, right? This is kind of the phase one part of it. It enables the reporting of what's going on out there on the internet. The receiving mail servers that are getting things saying at dsl.co.nz or whatever it is, that gets fired through onto the platform, so we can actually see what's going on. We can start to analyze where all the senders are, right? And then from there, we go into a bit of implementation. And this takes 2 to 3 hours to set up for a, like generally a small company, a little bit more if you're a lot more complex and you've got a lot of integrations happening into your domain, all right? But typically, it's not a huge bit of work, but then ongoingly, we need to make sure that you are kept protected and that we can see that we're securing your domain names. Typically, so five minutes to get that configured, DNS configured, a couple of weeks to analyze the data, and then the ongoing implementation. All right. Now, here's the thing. Unfortunately, the protocol isn't particularly user friendly. Like, I know certain people are going to be able to read this natively, but most people aren't. And frankly, nobody has enough time to be able to do everything we've got to do. So this kind of reporting, I'm trying to remember the correct term, it's not HTML. Anyway, the markup language that gets sent through is difficult to read. The platform simplifies it, makes it really straightforward for us to be able to act upon it, all right? And if marketing makes a change, or your invoicing team changes and they start sending it from a different platform, it'll turn up and we can actually see it, all right? So what we're offering here is actually providing a high level of trust for your staff, your customers, and your suppliers in your brand and the reputation that you hold out there. It's providing the visibility. We're making sure that, when it comes to deliverability of marketing emails, if you send out a marketing email campaign, right? If you send out 1,000 of them, if you get 20 responses from 1,000, that's a good, reasonable email campaign. If it's a bad one, it could be 1%. If it's a fantastic one, it might be 4%, right? So if you're spending any money in email marketing and that kind of stuff, or where email is a component of an overall campaign, if you can boost the percentage, you know, by 1%, like, so making sure that your marketing email actually gets into their inbox, it will make a massive difference to your overall success of your campaign. Furthermore, DMARC is an emerging standard that is becoming part of security frameworks, right? I'll go into that a little bit later, and also confirms the identity that you know, email coming from your domain is actually coming from your domain. From, you know, a global perspective, there are a lot of businesses out there at the enterprise level, but this is sinking down. And the point about this offering is that it's actually priced where, hey, everybody can do it now. All right. From a compliance perspective, a lot of New Zealand businesses follow what the Americans do, not the Americans, so the Australians do with the Essential 8. DMARC is now part of the Essential 8. Also, the New Zealand GCSB, Government Communication Security Bureau, who are behind the New Zealand Information Security Manual, which is required to be followed by government departments and people that do business with government departments, right? They have now changed the wording in the manual in the latest version from December 22 from DMARC records should be in place to they must be in place, right? So, and also set to reject, right? Part of what we do with this is that there's a phased approach where you get the DMARC records show us who is sending as, then we get it to the point where, well, like it's just reporting in. Then we're like getting to the point where, okay, we're just going to quarantine the suspect messages, right? Because maybe somebody started doing something, right? To no, we're solid. We know where all the senders are from our domain, and there's nobody else on that list. If it doesn't have the right tick marks for DMARC, then receiving mail servers should reject it. And that's where I want to get all of our clients to what is called P equals reject. So my offer for our flat rate clients is that we're going to get you up and running on SendMark. Well, I'm treating this as an opt-out. You're going to have to tell me that I don't want to have anything to do with this, Daniel, because I don't believe in it, right? But otherwise, we're going to be tacking it on and providing the recurring fee for 6 months, discounting the recurring fee for 6 months, right? So it's essentially for free if you're a flat rate client. Thereafter, like the platform is a $70 per month cost. So like I said, it's not a major, right? For clients who are on block time or time materials type agreements, then I'm willing to give you the 6 months free, but I'm going to charge for the implementation. You know, so like I said, 2 to 3 hours of setup time, that kind of stuff. Not a massive. But again, my thing is I want as many of my clients on this so that, hey, you know, we're the ones that offer the 100% money back cybersecurity guarantee. This is part of it. All right. I want to help protect our clients and make sure that we go forward into the future and reduce the total amount of problems that everybody has to deal with, and also protect your brand reputation. So that's pretty much it from me. I don't really have anything more to say. Thank you for showing up and come to see me once again. I'm open to more ideas that people may have. If there's any questions that you guys have to ask, now is the time to hear, to tell me. I'm having a look now inside the Q&A discussion. Not seeing anything just yet. I will be looking to do another session like this in the next quarter. If there is anything that you guys, as my clients, are gagging to hear about, or you just want like a heads up on things, I will include that. But I do have, like, every quarter I go away to a peer group where I'm actually now in a peer group with some really quite mature MSP service providers, and we have security specialists who come out and talk to us about here are the kind of things that you guys need to be incorporating. This is the threat trends that we're seeing, and I try and bring them in, right? So that's it from me. Oh, hang on, wait, I've got some questions. Thank you. The email I received terrifies me. Okay, so 2 out of 5 on the domain score. What it means is you probably have an SPF record in place. However, it may not be fully complete, and it was possible to still spoof you because it may not be explicit about what somebody's email, what it should do with an email that does not match the full SPF record. All right. So, that's another one of the great things about this platform. Is the SPF records? It's simple. It really is. It's a text line in your DNS's own record. You know how we have like this mail record. There's a record that points to your website. The DMARC record is just another couple of lines. The SPF record, the Sender Policy Framework, you can only have so many items in that record, and if you go over it, the record becomes invalid and it doesn't count. It's kind of a silly thing, but it's just how it is. So if you actually do have a bunch of different platforms that, you've got an email marketing platform, you've got something else platform, you've got like your hosted line of business application there, and they're all trying to send emails from there. It's quite possible that you can't account for all of them within one SPF record. The CMARC platform flattens it down. All right, so we can actually we can account for the extra complexity that we have with businesses who are doing more and more stuff online. So we can take care of that too. It's an added bonus I mentioned before. Just on a side note, we've actually started loading up all of our flat rate clients' domains into CMARC. I really am serious when I said it was not out. We're going to crank on and do this because we totally believe in it. So we're already partway down the line. So from here onwards, you'll probably start hearing from one of the guys to ask a few questions like, is this a valid sender for your domain? I don't know what it is. We can't quite figure it out. Maybe maybe we just go no together and we block that out. So that's what's going to happen next for a large amount of people. Very good. Righto. So if that's it, and nobody has any more questions, or if you just want to fire me an email afterwards, there's a few people who couldn't make it today, so I will be saving the recording this and sending it out as a link. If you want it as well, because you just want to hear this 3 more times because you love the sound of my voice, or I spoke too fast and you couldn't catch what I was saying, fire me an email as well. I'll flick you the link. I'll probably post it up on the blogs, our company blog site as well. Oh, one more thing. I do have a YouTube channel where I have posted something like 178 videos. I have a cybersecurity tip series that I did for a year, and I used it as the basis for the book. Right? What's the name of my book? My book was She'll Be Right, Not a Cybersecurity Guide for QE Businesses. I'd love it if you go check out my YouTube channel. If you go to vertech.co.nz, it's up the top of the page. If you could hit it and subscribe, I will take that as a hey, yes, I will. I want to see more of that kind of content, and I'll start producing a bit more of it in a way that's more what's the word? A high production quality. Some of them are a bit amusing if you go way back. But thank you for showing up, guys. I don't think there's any other questions. I'll just check. No, that's it. Okay. I hope you all have a great day, and this weather is fantastic. Let's go into the weekend on Friday, one final push of productivity, and yeah, enjoy time with your families. Thank you.